Welcome to the Lindemann Outdoors podcast with your host, Jeremy Lindemann, Buckshot Lindemann, and we got a special guest today, somebody I go way back with, back when we were just young punk kids running up and down hills in the woods trying to arrow deer. Dewey, how do you say your last name again, Dewey? Dewey Kostrzewski? Kostrzewski?
Yep.
Kostrzewski, I was right the first time.
You were.
Dang it, we're gonna edit that out. And I'm gonna go on record saying that Dewey is a better target archer than myself. We've gone back and forth for years saying which one of us is best, but Dewey is by far a better target archer than myself.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna get that out of the way right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about location. At least, like a lot more, probably a little bit more maybe experience than just traveling for tournaments. Maybe that's probably what it was. But other than that, I don't think it's a hands down victory for me by any means.
But cool thing about Dewey, not only is he a great shot, but now he's kind of living the dream of every archer. He started his own archery shop.
Mm-hmm.
So Dewey, let's start off with. We're going to go way back. Yeah. Let's talk about how you got into archery and bow hunting. Let's start with that first.
All right. Well, I suppose I'd figure it'd probably be like any boy, gal. It's somebody in the family that starts you out. Me was my father. He was a big archer back in the day. He got me involved in it, and I started shooting bow so young. It was just like the little red recurves and stuff like that. You'd run up to the hardware store. Yeah, you'd run up to the hardware store, wherever it was, and just go buy like a little white rope to tie onto the limbs and run around the yard. And when Dad and like my uncle and my dad and uncle and their friends would come shoot. I mean, they would come shoot it every night in the back of my dad's back of the family yard. And a lot of times, back then they'd miss, and the next morning I'd go out and try to find their arrows, and next thing you know, I'd find their arrows and start shooting their arrows. So I had extra arrows and stuff, and archery's just been a big part of my life ever since I can remember, to where I've gun hunted before, but if I
as fun.
It's not. No. It's not. And it's like, for me, it's so much more for me, to where it's such a relaxing, that's where I find my peace. I mean, generally, that is where, like, people say all the time, you find your peace, but that is where I find my peace, is in the tree stand. I do a lot of my best thinking up there. I mean, it's amazing how you can just sit there and go through your life and where you want to be, and just kind of just put everything together in the tree stand. Because then you're sitting there for, hours upon hours sometimes. And, but I started like hunting like what you did, Jeremy, to where back in the day, there was no cell phones, so you weren't sitting there playing games in a tree stand. What you were like, and I think that's why sometimes like us older hunters are so much more aware of even the surroundings and noises, is because we didn't have things to distract us in the tree stand. You had to pay attention, or you might miss a shot at that 6-pointer that I walked by, or whatever it would be at the time, But, that's where I got my start, was by my dad.
Yeah.
Progress from there.
Yeah, and what's kind of neat about that too is that you and your dad actually helped evolve me into a better bow hunter too. When you were actually in the same grade as my younger brother. But we all kind of started bow hunting together, as a group almost. And it was neat that, because like my brother and I didn't really know that much about bow hunting. Yes, we had bows and we flung arrows and stuff, and we were, trying to get deer and everything. But it was really like, I remember like your dad introducing us to like the first strap-on lock-on tree stand.
Oh, and,
yeah. Because remember, you had that old seatbelt one that.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah,
I do
remember that thing.
That.
And
absolutely do.
We spent all that time down there in Lincoln County, running around and Holden Mountain Park, bow hunting and up on the edge, and. One of my. Yeah.
I was just telling Jacob about that, how we'd run around Holden Mountain trying to think that we were good deer hunters back in the day. But, that's where I shot my very first deer.
Yeah. And, funny part is, one of my favorite stories is remember my brother and we only had it was technically my bow, but I had that, I think it was a PSE
Yeah.
Fireflight or Thunderflight Express. I can't remember, but, I had the bow the one night and you two were out scouting and actually saw this buck that was coming down into the meadow there. And you guys beat me home the next night after football and went out there and shot that buck. I think because you helped Jamie set up. I don't know. I think you were with him when he did that.
Possibly Jamie and I spent a lot of time running around up there and trying to, like I said, trying to kill everything. And
but
when you're young,
right? Beat me home, took the bow. Geez, I think we were. I think you two weren't even able to drive. I think your mom actually had to take you two and drop you off out there to hunt.
We'll see the night. Yeah.
Old enough to bow hunt, but couldn't drive.
But those were the days back in the day to where I didn't live. Well, I live closer to hole in the mountain than you guys did, but then Jamie would always run over or whatever. We just grab our bows and walk down the street. Go up until by I think the principal at the time was it Rogenbuck was his last name?
Rogenbuck, Rogenbuck,
and go sit up kind of in that area. It was times, a lot of good memories. If you really start thinking back to it, it's a lot of good memories. But I remember shooting my first deer up there. And my dad was a chief of police, and I shot a deer, and he didn't have any faith in me because I told him I shot a deer, and he's like, "Well, you do remember, this is new property. I don't know where I'm going on this one." But it was a nubbin buck, my first deer ever, and it didn't go very far, and I was happy.
Yeah, Jacob still shoots those now, so.
Yeah, they taste just as good.
One of those guys. Yeah, he's a meat hunter.
Jacob, his full nickname is Buckshot Fred Eichler Lindemann. That's his. That's who he is.
Fred Eichler's my idol. Always has been.
Fred Eichler.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's established himself pretty well, hasn't he?
He's a wild man.
Yes, he is.
Everything's a trophy to him, and as it should be. Like you and I, we've bow hunted a long time, so naturally we've kind of moved to that. We're looking for a older, bigger racked, mature deer.
Yep.
Some years we don't get one.
If he does the thing where he walks in front of you and broadside.
Now, the thing only counts with turkeys. If they come in strutting and gobbling, and then you can shoot that. You can shoot a Super Jake if he thinks he's a Tom. That's
that
where that
deer didn't want to die. It wouldn't have stood broadside.
But, okay, with you saying that, I do have a rule on that, right? So my rule is this. I'll let that deer walk by, and my theory is if it was meant to be shot, it will come back to me. It'll circle around and come back to me. And
there you go.
That's what I know. And that has happened. I'm telling you that from experience because that has happened to me a few times. And I thought, well, let this walk by, whether it's a doe or whatever. And if she comes back, then it was meant to be. And I've always been a stickler on that rule. If she circles around and comes back, it's game on.
And we are about filling the freezer as well. So
absolutely, you have to be. You have to be for sure. It's just not about big. It's just not about going out for. It's for the experience and camaraderie, and obviously filling the freezer.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's so much fun. So
it is.
Obviously Jacob is my son. You have a son that is just amazing at archery. What can you tell us a little bit about your boy and what overview of his career so far to date?
Yeah, his name is Blaine. He started archery a little bit later, I would say, but he started about 13. And
oh, wow.
He actually went to like a summer camp. I tried to get him to archery younger than that, but he didn't really take to it. He didn't really want to do that.
Yep.
He just didn't show very much interest in it. And the one thing that I did know I wasn't going to do was force something upon him that he didn't want to do because it was just going to ruin it. Just because my love for it was so deep, it didn't mean it was his at the time. So anyways, I don't remember the place, but the kids take a trip there. All the kids from the schools go to this place for a weekend. The Portage, maybe it's called the Portage. So anyways, Blaine came home from that weekend and said, I want a bow. And I said, well, you already have a bow. And he's like, no, I want like a real bow.
Mm.
And then he went into progress and tell me the story of how he went to deportage it was called, and how he was the best archer there out of all the kids, that the instructor told him that he was the best kid. And for me, the door opened up right there, and I invested into different, more of a bow for tournaments for him. And he started shooting, and he started to become pretty good. I started him out with a hinge release to get him to start shooting
smart.
that right off the bat.
Yeah.
And we started going to some just like North Dakota State, Minnesota State, things like that. And next thing you know, he wanted to be part of Archery Learning Center, which is down in Snellville, Georgia. George Riles runs that camp.
Yeah.
Yep, George Riles runs that camp, and we started flying him down there with a kid by the name of Blaze Ruffing. At one time, Blaze Ruffing held nearly every young adult, probably still does to this day, I don't know, award or record, because Blaze was just an amazing archer at a young age. And so then Blaine used to travel down to Snellville, Georgia with Blaze probably 3 to 4 times a year. And like for me, I was hoping that Blaine would have did something more local, down by the cities, but he didn't want to. Blaine, if you knew Blaine real well, Blaine just kind of likes to live outside the box. He kind of likes to do his own thing. And there's other kids that he knew that were in Minnesota, and he didn't want to be here. He wanted to try Georgia. And he did, and he became the highest ranking there. It's called Black Team Hornet. And he actually shot his first 300 game with some Pro Tour arrows, Easton Pro Tour arrows. And for the listeners, Pro Tour arrows probably about the size of a number 2 pencil.
Yeah.
So he shot a 300 on a Vegas round, which the bullseye itself,
it's a dime.
It's a dime.
Yeah.
At 20 yards. So he shot a 300
Dang.
with that, and he became a Black Team Hornet. And he shot it with some great company there. Like I'm talking some big name archers. I believe it was like George Hopkins at the time. I think he said Jesse Broadwater was there. Things like that. And then Blaine has podiumed nationally a few times. And then so then since Blaine was starting to get some recognition, he was able to now he goes to college in Williamsburg, Kentucky at the University of Cumberland, which is a 4-year college, and he got an academic scholarship to shoot archery down for their team.
Nice.
So that's where he's at right now, is in Kentucky, and he shoots for Team USA. He a couple of years ago, he was like the 5th ranking person for the Team USA. He's podiumed a few times at some ASA events, which is some big 3D tournaments. He's podiumed at U.S. and Outdoor Nationals. He's shot in, I think as high as Vegas in 3 days, his 3-day event is, he's shot 2 9s, but I mean, he shoots 300s at Vegas and stuff. I mean, he's really good with it. And I sent Blaine down to Georgia. It just wasn't for archery, but I wanted Blaine to be around people to kind of get him out of this area, to kind of show him that there was other areas out there, and to be around different type of people. So, and I opened the doors for him, and he ran with it. And, he thanked me in the long run for it. And I just told him, I said, you don't got to thank me, thank yourself. I opened the doors for you, but you ran with it. And I said, I have to thank you, because, you could have just thrown that down the drain, but you never did. You actually took that, and at least you're going to get a scholarship, or not a scholarship,
for sure,
education out of it.
Exactly.
So,
and then, smart sending him. So like, for a lot of people who don't understand, the archery scene, let's call it, for target archery and everything, is huge in the southeast of the United States.
Massive.
Like, all the shoots are in Pennsylvania and Georgia and Florida, and they just, for some reason, Minnesota and the Midwest, I mean, we have Yankton and we have some big shoots and stuff, but it just doesn't seem to be that, like you're talking the 3D shoots, the ASA, the IBO, all that stuff. It's all down there, Look how big the Lancaster shoot is now. I mean,
and I'm going to attend that this year. I have never been to that one, but they changed the dates this year. for it. So I'm going to go to Lancaster, and then I always go to Vegas too. I do that one also. But you're right. And like Kentucky, they call it like,
Yeah.
when you live in Kentucky, they call it the Mecca of archery because you live right around an area to where you don't have to travel as far. And Blaine, okay, so like Blaine even said like practice ranges and stuff down there. Like he said, like if they have like weekend tournaments, there's always a weekend tournament in some town down there, and you have to shoot near a perfect score to be like the
Right.
number one qualifier. He's like, it's nothing like up here. Like
No.
it's a way of life down there. So it's way different. So then when I told people that Blaine got a scholarship for it, people were like, well, for archery?
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah, because down there it's so much bigger. So everybody up here, you hear baseball or football or, but down there archery's a big thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's, like you're just talking about how you got to score so high just to, that's like you talk about some of his podium finishes. Well, when you get to that pro level, them guys are switching spots every weekend. And I mean, like you said, it's coming down to maybe one little tiny mistake that's knocking you out of the top 5 versus being up on that podium. So just being in that crew, being able to shoot with those guys is just so impressive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You better be locked in and focused.
Yeah, and it goes different days. I mean, even Levi Morgan has bad days, and if it's not your day and everything's not flowing right, you're not going to win. But it doesn't mean that you're not excellent,
No. And for the people that don't understand like how like accurate you have to be, like in like football terms, it'd be like getting a first down on every first down.
Yeah.
Like you can't
touchdown every play.
Yeah, touchdown every play. Like baseball would be like no hits. Like you just like golf would be like hitting an eagle every hole. Like you
hole in one.
Yeah. You can't like if you miss one, you're pretty much not like you're guaranteed not winning that tournament. It's nuts.
So much
it is. And it's like now I don't shoot professionally, but I've shot with the professional people before I have, and it's amazing shooting with just say like a professional archer. Like some of these, like say Dave Cousins, there's Chance Boboof and just Real Wild guys like that, which you guys know what names I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But like in between arrows, these guys are joking around, laughing. But what I'm getting at is like it's just so amazing, like how they can turn their game on and turn their game off, so they're not thinking about it. But when it's time to play, they're there. Yeah. And then once that arrow's gone, they can just unwind and joke around and talk and things like that. And next thing you know, it's the next arrow's up. They're quiet. They're doing their thing.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
Laser focus.
It is. It's such mental strength. It's incredible what these guys do, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like back when we were shooting target archery and stuff too, we kind of got to a spot where like you talked about sending Blaine, to Vegas, and you go into Vegas, and it gets to a point where okay, if I want to take this to the next level, that's what I got to do. And then living where we live, that's a lot of time and money and sacrifice. And I mean, that's a huge deal to, for him to be able to go do all that. So that's really cool.
Yep. It's to send Blaine to that stuff. Yeah, it was very expensive, but
so worth it.
He's going to get an education out of it. Did it hurt a lot as him growing up? It did. I'm not going to lie to you, but I said, that was a sacrifice that I was willing to make for him to try to better himself and to get out of here to see different parts of the United States. It's just so, but yeah, he enjoys it. He loves living down in Kentucky. He's dating a gal by the name of Madison Cox. She's a professional archer. She's on her way to Texas as we speak.
Oh.
And she's podiumed on some of the ASA, so she's been on some of the TV, on TV, live TV, shooting shoot-offs against Paige and the other gals like that. But very, very calm, very cool cucumber under pressure. It's just kind of fun to watch her shoot, and to just know what it takes to be at that level is just crazy.
Yeah, and these gals are such good shots.
They are 100%.
They would beat 99% of the men in this country.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's hands down. Yeah. There's no doubt about it, for sure. definitely.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. Hopefully, I hope to see him in the Olympics someday, or both of them actually. So I wish them all the luck in the world, and love to see someone I know up there getting that gold medal or winning Vegas. That would be so cool.
Yeah, and like I think Blaine this year probably. I think this is going to be Blaine's year for this shoot at 900 in Vegas and beyond
Yeah,
that stage.
awesome.
Like him and Chris Schaff just had a contest here not too long ago, and I think Blaine took Chris out, and I think that was Chris is a great guy, and he's beat Blaine a few times, but Blaine finally kind of got that monkey off his back, and
Mm-hmm.
now he knows he can. I think Blaine knows he can kind of compete with these boys, and it gets back to what we were saying, like
Mm-hmm.
it's a matter of 16th of an inch type game.
Yeah.
It's that tight. It's that tight. Who's bringing their game that day?
Yeah,
Is what it is.
yep, just being your day,
Yep.
having it all together.
For sure.
Yeah. No,
So let's let's transition a little bit here. So,
Yep.
Archery, huge part of your guys' lives, obviously.
Yep.
And now, I'm super excited about your store. So maybe tell us a little bit what, when you decided to go into business for yourself. Tell us the name of your store. Tell us kind of what you guys all offer there. Like for myself, we work on all our own stuff. The only other person I would ever let work on something for me is you, by far.
No.
In fact, I was like, no, I'm just going to go down to Dewey and I'm going to get a new target bow and I'm just going to be like, here you go, bud, just set this sucker up for me. I want to drill dimes. Cause, you're the man when it comes to this. So like I said, let's talk about what got you interested in starting the store, what you guys all do, what you're about, what's your name, how people can find you. Just go through it all.
All right. So then the name of the store is DBK Archery, and B is not my middle name. It's Dewey. It stands for Dewey Kostrzewski. And I have been working on bows out of a garage for probably 10 plus years. And how it all started me just working on bows was that I used to travel around a lot in archery, shooting tournaments, 3D, whatever it had been, and I didn't know the first thing about how to even tie a D loop on. And I let a store do it, and they kind of messed up my bow. I didn't do well at a tournament because I did the bow wrong, but I only had myself to blame. So that's how I started working on bows. How the business evolved was there's a outlet store in town here. Everybody knows in Thief River was Hunter's Outlet, and they were kind of getting out of the archery industry or the archery part of their sales. And for me, it was just like, well, we don't have an archery place in the Thief River Falls area. Why not just kind of take the risk? And so I hemmed and hawed a little bit about it, and so then I put some feelers out there, and nobody was really grabbing it, but Elite Archery at the time. So Elite Archery, because I was running it out of my garage. That's all I wanted to do was run it out of my garage. I didn't want to have anything more than that. I didn't want it to have to be
overhead costs.
Absolutely. So then, boy, that changed. But so Elite was willing to work with me out of the garage, and I was like, okay, let's do this. So I started really looking into it. And I just thought, you know what? All I can do is try, right? Because if I don't do it and if I don't try, I'm always going to wish that I would have.
Right.
And nobody else in this town was doing it. And if somebody else did it besides me, I would have been upset at myself for it. So I talked to the Elite, and we signed a contract. And so I started buying some Elite bows, which I still carry. And I have a good buddy. His name is Philip Johnson. He has a tall tine, bowstrings tall tine archery shop, and I believe it's Watertown, South Dakota, over there. And so I was talking to him a little bit, and he told me, he's like, Dewey, if you're gonna be the part, you got to look the part. And so I went and got a storefront, and then I reached out to Matthews. because now I had a storefront.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always told that if Matthews, you can send your application in, because Matthews is very particular who to take. If Matthews does call you, whatever you're doing, you better stop and pick up the phone when Matthews calls you. And I was on my way up to Warroad because I'm a full-time UPS driver. And I was pulling in a grad's repair actually, and Matthews called me. So I sat there and I talked to them for about 20 minutes. And next you know, I have Matthews. So now I'm running with, at that point, Elite and Matthews. I was just ecstatic to have both companies because obviously Matthews sells itself.
Mm-hmm.
And what people don't understand is Elite makes a hell of a nice bow. They really, truly do. Really good bow. They make a good youth bow, a good midline bow, and they're right there. But they're just not as big up in this area as Matthews. So I had one little location. I started off with just Matthews and Elite, like I said, Easton Arrows. And it just kind of grew. And now I'm in Thief River. I'm in a bigger store right on Main Street. And I'm a Matthews dealer. I'm an Elite dealer. I'm still them. And then now I deal with Hoyt, Raven crossbows, 10-point crossbows, Easton, cool. Victory arrows, CBE, Excel sights, Hamsky, rests, limb drivers. I have them. I have some QADs and bunch of, pretty much, I mean, to really boil it down, I would have everything that you would need as a big box store has. But the only difference with us is that you have customer service to where I really do I really try to pride myself on trying to make a bow really fit you well and to really make you walk out of here confident in your shooting setup and, in your own abilities, and trying to make that bow as forgiving as you possibly can for that customer. Yeah. You really do. And like for me, having Blaine go down to George Riles, that's kind of the benefit of the shop also, because Blaine now has surrounded himself with great archers with form. Mm-hmm. And Blaine has taught me many things about how to set up people for archery. And it's just not, it's just the way you grip a bow can tighten your groups out to 40 yards.
Oh yeah.
So that's just, so it's always nice to have offered. But yeah, it was a tough decision for me to go to do this. And I did have some push. The gal that I'm dating, she knew how much I loved archery, and she was just like, there is nothing in Thief River with it. So you should really, really do it. And I didn't want to do it. She says, no, you're going to do that. So, Missy she really pushed me into doing this also. I shouldn't say push, but encourage. That would probably be the right word.
Yeah. And then the support, huge.
She was there, and, she's been there since, if I'm kind of struggling mentally with it, because, sometimes if I have overhead sitting here and as a business owner, you're looking at it going, oh my gosh.
Right.
But it all works out as long as you have support. And like I've said to people, I have it here. I have Elite, I have Matthews, I have Hoyt, I have Raven, I have 10-point. I have it here. So it all depends on if you want to come here or not. And that's basically what it comes down to. But I, like I've said earlier in this podcast or a little bit ago, I am a full-time UPS driver. So my hours can be they're not big box store hours. So I come here, try to be here every Monday through Friday from 5 to 8:30 p.m. And then Saturday, I'm here from 9 to 3. And then coming up, I believe this Sunday, we're going to be here from 10 to 2 also, start working on some Sundays here coming up. So,
yeah, and that's great hours for the working class guy anyway, because, everyone's just like, the rest of us where you got to work during the day and then to be able to go get your bow worked on. I mean, nights and weekends is, what the normal guy has to get that stuff done.
Right. It is. And I've met a lot of nice people that come through the door. And, you try to do, there's still there's still people from Thief River that will come walking by and they'll like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know you had an archery shop in town. So it's like, you can put out there, on Facebook and pay for advertising, but it's now the power of the mouth is getting out there with my archery shop this year, especially. A lot of people are talking about it. It's starting to gain a little bit of traction. I'm starting to see surrounding area customers now, not so much just Thief River people, but around the surrounding areas. Like I've had people come up as far as Bemidji. They come over here for me to work on their bow or to buy a bow, whatever may be, you know. So I mean, I appreciate all of the business from the surrounding areas and in Thief River, because it is. And if people really knew what archery is to me, they would understand. Like I just have a deep passion for deeper than most, and I'd like to see you succeed with it. I really truly do. I love to watch people succeed with it. I've helped many people with target archery shoot their first 300s on 5 spots. And, you know, obviously I can guide you. It's the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, you know. I mean, I can help you out to get there. You just gotta want to do it. So, and I love when you get people in here who would just really want to be better archers, and they come for you for guidance. I love that. I love to help them people out.
Yeah. And what's cool about you, Dewey, is that you're an actual archery pro. Okay. So we'll call you that. And you're the really only true pro shop. I was just sitting here trying to think while you're talking. I'm like, well, where is the next place a guy could go to get an actual guy who really knows about bows and hunting and all this stuff, an actual pro shop, you know, like back in the day where, you know, you'd go to a guy who, you know, like old Charlie Bledsoe down in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. You know, remember how everybody used to go down to him because he was the guy. Well, you're the guy now, and you know, and that's one of the things I really love about what you're doing too is how, you know, you'll put your Facebook pictures of people that shot their first deer with your bow. Like you said, you love helping people out.
Yep.
You know, turkeys and setting people up, and I mean that's great. You know, and that's why we wanted to have you on the podcast, because we want to get, I mean, yes, only 7 people listen to this, but you know, someday it could be 14, and I want them 14 to go
16. I'm hoping it's 16.
Wouldn't 16 be great?
I think so.
I want all of them to go to your store and buy a bow from you, because they're going to get it set up and they're going to be successful with it.
Wow.
You know, you talked about Matthews and, even, you know, we kind of bag on crossbows a little bit, but at the same time, for people that can't shoot a bow, what's better than a Raven crossbow or a 10-point crossbow? I mean, they're the best of the best.
They truthfully are the best of the best, and
so accurate.
You know, they are, and it, you know,
crazy.
I get the main question I get with a crossbow is, how far can I shoot this? Can I shoot a deer at 100 yards? And I start laughing because I just go, you know, the way marketing has made it, you know, to where, but I mean, that's just whatever. I start laughing about that, but yeah, no, I do. I like to post the pictures of the people, because, you know, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you feel like part of their, you don't feel like it because you're part of their success, right?
You made them successful.
Yep.
You're part of that success. And that's, I guess, you know, I guess I'm to the point in life now to where I like to give back. And my way of giving back is
helping.
It's I never thought I'd do a retail side of it, but this is my way of giving back, and it's me helping you become a better archer and watching the kids will come in here and get a new bow, and it just to watch their excitement it really does. I really enjoy that part of it. But it's, as much as I love the bow hunt and stuff, my bow hunting is really kind of last year, you know, was my first fall of being open, and I didn't get to bow hunt that much, and so I'm going to take some words of advice from like my buddy, like I was telling you about, Phil Johnson, and he just told me, when you're on vacation at UPS, you're on vacation from the shop. You have to, otherwise you're going to be burning the wick from both ends, and you're going to burn yourself out. And it was starting to get to be like that a little bit last year for me, but I enjoy archery so much. And just like I said, the smiles and the camaraderie and everything like that. But I love it so much. And like I said, I'm not a big box store. So you buy a bow from me, I'm going to really work on your form. And you have my phone number. If there's anything you need, tuning advice, tips, whatever it is I can help you with, I will. And I will definitely try to go above and beyond any big box store will give you, because you're just not a number when you walk through my door. You're not. And I'm just not going to set something up just halfway just to make a sale and say good enough. I don't that. I just, that's not where my name is. And it's not where where I'm at with it. I just want to make sure your experience is fulfilled when you leave this door. And that's how I honestly feel about it.
Mm-hmm. And what I like what you got there too is you got good products. I mean, we've shot Easton arrows for 30 years. Jacob shot them his whole life. We shoot the QAD rest like, you got there. Matthews, is one of the, probably one of the premier hunting bows there is. I mean, they're quiet. There's, they're so forgiving. They're smooth to draw. I mean, and like you said, Elite is a great bow company too. They're, a little more popular in other areas, but you go shoot one of them, they'll surprise you how good they feel in your hands and how well they
very
shoot.
much. And they're kind of the shadow in the area, but I've had guys come in here and shoot the new Elite, and they're just like, we'll take this.
Yeah.
Because it's a flagship bow. And like, I always tell guys like this, because if they don't understand what is Elite, what kind of bow is that? And so, I mean, I'll explain it. I'll go in depth with it. And then I'll also tell them this bow company is in big box stores.
Yeah.
They are, because they make a good bow. And
Mm-hmm.
Elite also has CBE sights. Elite, it's called the TOG. That's their big company. It's Scott Releases. So everybody knows that name who's in archery is Scott.
Yep.
And CBE sights. Yep. So I mean, they make a good product, but like you said, you hit the nail on the head when you're talking about Matthews. I mean, their lift this year is such a nice bow. It truly is. It's one of the nicest Matthews bows I've probably ever shot in my life, because this year they've changed up the cams, the strings, the riser, the mod system with it. I mean, it's just a nice all around bow, and it's light. The 29.5, and I mean, they're nearly weighing as much as the 29.5-inch axle lift is light. Is just as light as the Carbon Era from Elite. So I mean, so guys who go out west like to hunt and they like a light bow.
Yeah.
I mean, you have your choice. If you really want a light bow, you have your choice between Carbon, and you have your choice between the lift. You're probably going to go with the lift just for the simple the price point. Because a Carbon bow, we all know, is a little bit more money. I mean, that's just the way it is, because it's a carbon riser.
Right. Yeah. And then, like you said, and as the guy gets older too, like Jacob, he shoots a bow that's 14 pounds.
That thing's a unit.
and I'm like, I don't want to carry that. I want a light bow that I can, that as light as possible. I mean, go out west, it's like, well, I'm going to have a bottle of water, a granola bar, and my bow and a knife, and I don't want anything else heavy with me, because
right. And it's like if I was to go out west, I would probably weight the bow down a little bit more. For me, I'm talking like for antelope or stuff like that. Now, if I'm elk hunting, maybe not so much, but I'm just saying, like, I shouldn't even say west. Let's say it's like South Dakota. If I'm going antelope or even like mule deer hunting in there, I'm probably going to run a front bar and a back bar. Yeah. But hunting just Minnesota whitetails and northwest Minnesota, I'm not going to run all that extra weight just across the Snake River and just to sit by a tree stand. It's not going to happen, because my shot's 16 yards at most. That's where I try to set my stands, from 16 to 25 yards. I try to be as ethical as I possibly can be. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I shoot archery, as much as I have confidence in my setups, when I get them all tuned up, I still don't like, personally myself, I still don't like taking that 40-yard shot, because it is, it's not that I won't, but you know what I mean. You know exactly what I mean.
Wrong. Yep.
We've been doing this for a long time, and the guys who will listen to this, they know a lot can go wrong. Yep. It truthfully can. And I think there's nothing worse than sitting at night realizing, knowing that you wounded an animal.
Yeah. The worst.
It is. It's the worst. And if you don't have that feeling, then I guess maybe sometimes you shouldn't hunt, right?
That's how exactly. I look at it
too.
Well, it's like you talked about the crossbows. People are like, how far can I shoot with that? And then same thing with like archery. We shoot. We practice. We'll shoot out to 100 yards and just for fun.
Well, that's just make the 20 shot lights out. Like you shoot far, hit close.
And honestly, like I've told Jacob, I said, I look back at the past 25 years, I haven't shot a deer over 30 yards, and I don't know when, for like forever. And like the past 15 years, everything's been, like you said, 25 yards and in.
It is.
And we talk about all the time, what's the best sight picture you can see when you pull back on a deer?
I like the whole sight housing being in the vitals.
Yeah.
All the pins.
All the pins.
Yeah.
We got him.
Yeah. That's nice and close.
Yep.
You darn right. For sure it is.
And that's where you want them, and, I think what's cool too about, the Matthews bows and stuff like that is it's going to help you draw smooth and quiet, and you're not going to move too much. It's just, when you're in close on that deer, you're going to be stealthy and you're going to put a good shot, like you said, an ethical shot at a good range, and that deer won't, he'll go 20 yards and tip over.
Right. And, like I run into some guys here that, they're about, they're my age, a little bit older. So we're getting older. Shoulders are getting wore out. I hate to say that, but it's the truth.
Yep.
And,
true.
but there's a lot of the guys that come in here that just really don't want to go to crossbows yet around my age.
Nope.
And I understand it. So then, I'll try to set them into like an elite terrain when you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, but you're getting a good bow for that price. And then there's some of the elites, if they want to be a little bit higher, we'll put some of the elites, I'll give them options of the elites. That's 90% holding. So, I mean, so what they can pull, pull that bow back and they can hold that bow forever, and they feel comfortable with their shoulder holding that bow back. So I've had quite a few guys come in here where I've set their bows up to where they have a higher holding or higher let off, and they really do enjoy it because their shoulders aren't so strained as say like 80% let off or 75% let off. So even a little bit of 5%, you can feel that. And if you have shoulder pain, you would understand that 5% does make a difference.
Oh, it's 85
huge. To 90, it's huge.
Let's for the people that don't know, explain let off. Like you're saying 90%, what, like 5%. Explain that for the people that don't do it
that's just
every day.
Yep, that's just when you pull back the bow and it comes through its peak draw force and it kind of rolls back into the cam. That's how much the let off will that would be like how much weight you're holding in the back. So like a 90% let off on say an elite bow at 70 pounds, you're probably holding back about 5 pounds actually of that bow. That's what that's what you 5 to 7 pounds is what you're holding back on that bow. So I mean that is literally nothing. And as it rolls back, it just drops into like the valley, like as you're drawing it back, and you can hold it forever. And like a lot of these guys that are a little bit older, they like that, because when you start talking like 80% let off and 75% let off, when you start pulling that bow and you anchor in, so to the guys that I'm describing this to, when you anchor in and if you relax a little bit or your muscles kind of collapse a little bit, you're going to creep ahead and you're going to be jumpy. And for guys who know archery know exactly what I'm talking about, to where 90% you're not going to do that. It's just, you're never going to do that. You're going to be able to feel comfortable holding that for a longer period of time.
Well, and you get a deer that, is moving, is not, you're waiting for it to put that front leg forward and, get it broadside perfectly, or, slightly quartering away so you can just make that good shot. I mean, that's so huge to be able to have that. It's almost like a luxury to be able to do that. And
it truly is. It is. It's but it's hunting and not killing, and that's why they call it, because you just never know what's going to happen. But like I said, I love doing it.
Yeah, and what's awesome too about bows nowadays too is that you don't have to shoot 70 pounds like you used to have to get speed and performance. And I mean, you can shoot 55 pounds and shoot a 500 grain arrow with a good cut on contact broadhead, and you're going to rock it through everything that you shoot with that.
You're right. And I run into a lot of that at the shop, and people talk about that. And like how much pounds should I be running? And like I tell people, it's 35 pounds. That's the minimum draw weight. Is it 35 pounds minimum draw weight, Minnesota?
Yeah, I think they moved it to 35.
Okay.
Used to be 40.
It used to be 40 when I grew up, but I believe it dropped down to 35 because bows nowadays they're more efficient than they were back in the days. They were dinosaurs back in the days. when we were growing up, Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
But
rocks were soft and dirt was new.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I tell people, 35 pounds with the right setup, right arrow setup, and the right broadhead. I mean, that's why there's a 35-pound draw limit, because you can still kill a whitetail deer. Like, I don't know, like this year, like I'm still shooting heavy poundage. I don't know if it's a Tim the Two-Man Taylor thing or what this is, but I still shoot high poundage, and there's no need for it. And it goes back to what you're saying. You don't need that anymore.
Well,
I just think it's just that's what
I was always used to shooting.
Or
Jacob's got a story.
Shout out Mom. In our little backyard food plot on our old property, with like 10 acres, she shot just a massive 9-pointer. How many pounds was she shooting? 40 maybe?
Yeah, like 39.
39 pounds, because she's got like kind of messed up shoulder from playing sports her whole life. And she just smoked this big buck with a nice...
It was Pope and Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100 and... so she, I think it was like... it just barely made it. It was like just over the 125 minimum, but she was shooting an Easton arrow with a Muzzy broadhead.
Yep, right there.
And like 39 pounds, and hit it right behind the shoulder, and it went all the way through.
Yeah, and that deer went 15 yards and died in a creek.
And actually, I thought, Jacob, you were going to tell your story about how Jacob was 10 years old.
Oh, yeah, when I shot the world's biggest buck.
Yeah, so you're going to love this, Dewey, because Jacob ended up burning my buck tag for the year.
I'll tell it from my point of view first.
No, I'm taking this one. we don't have time for your lies right now, Jacob.
I convinced you to let me hunt on my own.
Listen here, Buckshot. First of all, we can't talk about that because you weren't on your own. I was you were not sitting in the same tree as you were. In a different tree. But anyway... So Jacob had hunted the youth season, and he had shot a buck, with his rifle, because he's just, very young kid.
Nice little 8-pointer.
10 to 12 years old. I can't remember how old he was. We're just going to say that because
I think I was like a 10 or 11. I wasn't 12 yet.
Jacob, you need to quit talking about me breaking the rules.
You were within 30 yards.
Yeah. You let me hunt on my own. I was 10 years old. No, I did not, state of Minnesota. I was there. I was
thinking, too.
Yeah. I was within arm's reach of the mentor program.
Yep.
Jacob's just not really good with dates. Oh, Buckshot, he doesn't do math so well, so we got to cut him some slack. But anyway, so he shot a buck. And funny story, because we had 3 bucks come in the youth season. I was looking at the biggest one, and I'm like, just wait a second, Jacob. And then, boom, Jacob shoots. And he's like, I got him. I'm like, no, you didn't. You missed. He's like, and thank God he didn't listen to me. Here, he was looking at a different buck out his ground blind window that I didn't even see.
Yeah, the partition, he couldn't see it.
Yeah, and I was looking at this big one. And thank God that I am law-abiding. I just didn't grab the rifle to finish it off for him, which I would never do, and I didn't, because then we'd have been in really trouble because we'd have had 2 laying there. Mm-hmm. But, and then luckily, too, that he didn't,
I smoked it.
Yeah, he did. He dropped it. He didn't listen to me and be like, hey, no, you missed. Shoot that buck right there, because then we'd have been in trouble because we'd had 2. We had to turn ourselves in. But, so Jacob had tagged out. Well, obviously in Minnesota it is legal to party hunt. Plus we had doe tags. And so Jacob and I were bow hunting after the, later in the season. And I was like, okay, now we're going to sit here and I want you, and Jacob was of the age that he could sit by himself, 12 years old.
A harness also.
Yeah. Anyway, I usually sit with him, but there was a trail that come through the woods, and then it wide off into 2 separate trails and coming out to the field. And if we would sit on the left side, they'd come out the right side.
It was every time.
Every time. So Jacob said, okay, I'll go to the left and you go to the right. So we were going to split up. And I'm like, okay, Jacob, now only shoot a doe. And Jacob's like, well, what if a great big 10-pointer comes by? I'm like, okay, if it is a monster buck, you can shoot it and I'll tag it. Okay. So I get him situated in his tree stand, and I walk just a little ways over, in accordance with the law. I could still, he was old enough, plus I was nearby. I didn't leave him unsupervised.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and I can see some deer coming towards me down the trail. And I'm like, oh, here we go, because we were there to shoot does, because it was bonus tag, and I think at that time you could shoot 5 does.
Okay.
In that area.
Oh, so we were then, yeah.
Yeah, so we were filling the freezer, and it might have been 3. I can't remember exactly what it was back then, but we had a bunch of bonus tags.
Yep.
And we were going to fill the freezer. It was jerky making and sausage making time, so we needed some does. And I'm thinking, okay, here comes this doe. I'm going to get her. And all of a sudden I hear, whack! And then pretty soon I hear, I got him! And I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden here comes Jacob just trucking, through the woods to me. And he's like, huge buck. I got him. He's huge. He's so big. And he can't even talk. He's so ecstatic. I mean, he's just out of his mind. I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, quick, come here. Like, I could still see those deer coming down this field edge. Yeah. I'm like, Jacob, just come here and sit down, and calm down a little bit. And I said, I got deer coming. I said, I think I can get one of these does. Mm-hmm. And finally, Jacob's just making too much noise, and he's too excited. And then the deer run off, and then he finally comes down, and I'm like, okay, where did you hit him? Right behind his shoulder. I smoked him. I nailed him. I got him. And he's just out of his mind. And I'm like, well, where did you see where he went? And he can't even tell me. And then finally he comes down a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, did you see where he went? Yeah. When I hit him, he ran, and he run right into a tree, and he tipped over. I'm like, oh, you seen him go down? He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me?
Right. So excited.
Yeah, so excited. Couldn't even talk. It's first buck with a bow.
Yeah.
And then
first
so
deer with a bow.
First deer with a bow. So then we go over there, gather up all my stuff, and we go over there, and we walk, I'm like, where is he at? And I see the blood, and, the same thing, 38 pounds, Easton arrow with a muzzy broadhead. When he hit this deer, he hit it perfectly right behind the shoulder. It went all the way through, come out and busted the leg on the far side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you talk about this kinetic energy of these bows. And we walk up to this buck, and here I'm looking at this buck, and I'm like, Jacob? He's like, what? I'm like, this is a fork buck. I thought you said you shot a huge 10-pointer. Well, he looked big to me, he says. And so here I have to burn my buck tag, so then I'm done for the year because, party hunting rules. And I was like, So Jacob
made a good shot, though.
Made a heck of a shot with a low poundage bow.
Mm-hmm.
And burnt my buck tag.
Yep. And that's what's one important thing too, and do like low poundage bows, since we're talking about that, the right arrow build for them, for those low poundage bows. And it's something that I really started doing now, is doing low poundage arrow builds and things like that. But I mean, it needs to be like you get a low poundage like that. Fixed blades are where it's at for.
Yep. So what are you shooting right now for your hunting setup? Tell us about your hunting setup. Arrow weight and what your arrow build is. And
right now I'm shooting an 82 pound lift.
I mean, a rhinoceros might come in. You never know.
I know. And this is what I was getting.
What if a T-Rex attacks you?
Right. This is what I was getting into. Like, I don't know why I have I don't know why I have the Tim the Tool Man type thing.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm shooting an 82 pound Matthews lift right now. I'm shooting a little bit underspined arrow, which would be a 300 spine, Easton, full metal jacket, which is aluminum on the outside, carbon on the inside. Yep. And I went with maybe I should be shooting probably with a 29-inch draw. I should be shooting about a 260 grain or 260 spine, but the full metal jacket's heavy.
It's heavy.
It's a heavy arrow. And broadhead wise, now I'm a little bit different because I'll set my bows up to where a target tip, a bear shaft, let's just say like sever practice. I'll have it in a practice setting. range practice, broadhead, and an iron will all hit at 60 yards. I will spend a lot of time tuning a bow, because some guys will sit there and say, well, I'm just going to shoot an expandable so it flies like my field tip, and or if it flies like my field tip, or just go sight in an expandable and don't care that it hits different than their target tip. And like for me now, we're talking about kinetic energy. So to maximize your kinetic energy, you better have your arrows flying with a very good spin and in a straight line, like a dart. Because I've not only witnessed, but I've been victim to where you take a shot at an angle, or shot just doesn't break right, and the arrow kind of kicks out of the bow, say a little sideways. You're losing so much kinetic energy right off the bat, for the simple fact is you just didn't tune your bow to give it maximum forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not shot through paper. So just like a lot of the people come through here and they go and they shoot through paper and they go, oh, bullet hole, and they think you're ready to go.
You're not.
No. You're not. A bullet hole is just a starting point, and chances are, like, if you do your right tuning and you tune, like you just watch some YouTube videos and learn how to tune and you know how to do it, chances are once you get your bow fully tuned to where it need be, you could come back and shoot it through paper at, say, 5 to 7 yards, whatever it may be, and you're going to have a tear. But I can tell you what, that arrow is flying. Every one of those arrows are flying like darts at, say, 60 yards. And so, that's what my setup is. I shoot a Matthews lift, because I actually shoot 4 Matthews now for the factory.
Nice.
So that was a kind of accomplishment for me this year. And, but yeah, the Easton Full Metal jackets. I truly love the way those arrows hit. I mean, when they hit, they're hitting hard. So I do love that.
Yeah, so, we're shooting Easton arrows too. We're actually shooting the 5mm Axis, and then we have some the half outs on there, but there's some custom ones that we got at 50 grains. So then we shoot 100 grain broadhead, and that puts us right at 500 grain arrow at 300 spine. We're both shoot 70 pounds at 30-inch draw, because we got long arms.
Yep, you guys are big guys for sure. Yep. You are. Yeah,
I got 31.
Yeah, so we got arrows. They're just super. I mean, they just rocket through everything we hit with them.
They're 2x4s that you throw at people. I throw at deer.
They're just, but you got to have that heavy arrow to, and like when our arrow builds and stuff, we've been trying to find that compromise between, not having a great big bunch of pin gap, so like if not having a big arcing arrow, you want to shoot flat, so it helps with yardage estimation, because our main focus is bow hunting, of course, and we want to, if that deer, if we're off on our yardage estimation a few yards, we want that arrow to still hit.
Right, because there is a balance there. There is a balance there. I know guys that will come in here have like a 500, nearly a 600 grain arrow, and it's just like wow. Geez. But they're shooting like 55 pounds, 50 some pounds.
Right.
And for me, I'm just like, like when you're shooting 50, 55 pounds with a heavy arrow like that, and they go, well, kinetic energy. It's shooting, it's sticking, it's going so far into my block target. Well, that's a foam layered target. So when you're shooting into an animal and hitting hide, probably more than likely some type of bone, you're going to lose a lot of energy, because you don't have your speed isn't there. So I'm not saying you're not going to kill the deer. I'm not saying that, but what I'm trying to get at is, like, there is a balance between speed and weight of
for sure,
with poundage. I mean, you have to find that happy medium, and those are things that I will do, is sit down in the shop and we'll go through. When I do a bow build for somebody, we'll look at what arrows I feel would be best for you, and what I feel for arrow would be built best for you. And it all matters. It all matters for group tuning. It matters for like long range flight and how it groups. It does matter. It does matter, but you have to take the time out to want to do it. I mean, how many times have we seen in our lives, and probably been at younger ages, to where you pull your bow out of the case nearly. Well, I guess I've never been that way, because I've shot bow through summers, but you hear a lot of guys saying, hey, I haven't opened my bow case since last fall.
2 days before the season, and then they head out there.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, oh my goodness. Well, let me help help you, help me help you a
Yep.
little bit here. So, but yeah, like Melissa now, she's a prime example of low poundage. Last year was her first year of bow hunting ever, and she was shooting 36 pounds, and I had to build an arrow for her, and just something that flew well for her, and it was a little bit different for me to try to build low poundage arrow like that because it was something new for me, but I built a good arrow for her, and got her out to about 30 yards I felt was sufficient for her with a low poundage, and she enjoyed bow hunting and has spent a lot of time with her bow hunting last year, and then this year, I'm hoping that we'll take her daughter and her son out and take her back out. I got her Matthews lift 29.5 also, so upgraded her a little bit and actually got her some brand new ultra arrows from TOG. So I just got a new dozen in, and I don't know if you guys know that by the name of Tim Schuster, who is okay. So Tim Schuster is a guy. Yep, Tim Schuster's a guy that has forgot more about arrows than I've ever known.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So and he
shout
came
out
in here,
Tim at the Ugly Hunter Chronicles.
Yep. He came in here and he's the elite rep, and
yep.
Him and I actually, him and we built we got arrows for Melissa, and we were talking about all types of broadheads, and if anybody could ever meet Tim, it's a true privilege to meet a guy like Tim who just knows archery like the back of his hand and knows what he's doing, especially with arrows. I mean, that is his forte. And
he's killed a lot of critters.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. He's killed a lot in Africa here. I mean, he knows what he's doing. They do a lot of testing, and having a guy like that in your back pocket, let's just say, I can just reach out and call him, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time. We're talking 20 plus years, but it's just nice to have guys like that. So if you have any kind of questions, and that's what I tell people also here, if I don't know something or if I'm stumped, I'm just not going to half-ass it, more or less. I have people that I can contact.
Well, you can call Matthews.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I have people that
Tim.
I have people that actually, like I could just be like, hey, this is the problem I'm having. Have you guys had problems like this before in this shop or whatever? Or, and these guys will tell me. So I don't want anybody to ever come here and just think that I'm going to throw your bow together and just say, see you later. I take more pride in myself than that. And I try to do the very best I can with the time that I have. And I just like I said, everybody that leaves the shop, you have my phone number. And if you have any questions, concerns, I will definitely make it a point to help you better yourself or to redo your setup for whatever is what you need.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way, and I always will be that way.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to, Jacob and I wanted to have you on this podcast. Because there's this great thing going. Yeah, and there's nobody, like Jacob was just saying. There's nobody that does what you do. Everybody out there listening to this podcast, go see Dewey. He's going to get you set up. He knows what he's talking about. He's going to help you fill that freezer. So Dewey, we'll kind of wrap this up here.
Yep.
I think we could, we're going to have you back on again here, because I think we could do about 14 hours of this podcast if we wanted to. But let's, in closing, just tell everyone, I mean, if you want to put your phone number out there, whatever you want to do, tell them how they can get a hold of you, Instagram, whatever how people can get connected with you.
Go. I have a Facebook page. It's DBK Archery Outfitter. That's my Facebook page. You can go on there. My phone number is 218-689-3613. And are you there?
Yep.
Okay. And in I'm right in town, 321 North Main. As you come into Thief River from the north, I'm right across from the Times. When people still don't know where that is, I just say by Schoberg's Cable or the Rusty Nail, because everybody knows where the Rusty Nail is.
Everybody knows where the Rusty Nail is.
Yep. So I'm right on that block. I'm on the corner, and like I said, I'm here to help you out. I'm not a big box store. I'm here to help you become a better archer.
That's great. Jacob, you got anything in closing?
No, I just want to thank you, Dewey, and everybody. Like, I mean, in the Midwest, if you're in the area and you need something done, he's your guy for it. I mean, yeah, I remember, I don't even know if you remember this, Dewey, but I remember we were having a 3D shoot in Thief River there, and I was having a little problems with my bow madness, and you're like, oh, here's your problem. And I shot the rest of the course. I beat him. I beat Jeremy.
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember that too. Don't you worry. Don't let your dad sit there and go, what? Yeah, I know. Yeah. We know, Jacob. We know.
He's got me a few times.
Yeah, that just happened to be that was the start.
Yeah.
That was the start. That's a fact. Yeah. I can't even beat him arm wrestling anymore, Dewey.
Don't worry about it. If you seen Blaine, you'd understand. I completely understand.
He'll break my arm now. So I'm like, no, I need to bow hunt. Leave my shoulder alone.
You talk about you beating your dad. I remember Blaine shooting a head-to-head tournament, and him and I were going head-to-head on a Vegas tournament for first and second place, and he whispered down to me as we're walking down to pull our first set of arrows. He looked at me and goes, will you just let me beat you? And I looked at him and said, absolutely not.
No.
And he goes, why? And I was pulling my arrows. I said, because there's going to be one day, kid, that I'm not even going to be able to touch you. So I'm going to take every full advantage I can right now. And right now, there's not even a chance that I could ever beat him. And
you can ask Jacob this too, because I'd play him in basketball, and I didn't let him win until he was like, I never let him win, in fact. And he
17.
didn't beat me. Yeah, he remembers the day that he beat me. It's the greatest day of a kid's life when they finally beat their dad.
Yeah.
So it is good for you for not letting him win.
Yep. It's the greatest day in the kid's life, and it's just the start of the downhill spiral for the dad.
That's a fact. I think I tore my hamstring shortly after that.
It's just crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. So thank you guys for reaching out to me. I really do appreciate it. I really appreciate what you're doing. I think it's really needed in the area for sure, because archery seems to be, in a way, a dying sport in our area and things like that. So I do really appreciate you guys coming, reaching out to me and letting me be part of your journey.
We're having a lot of fun with this podcast. It's it's going to be all hunting stories and tips and tricks and bow hunting and fishing and just kind of living that outdoor lifestyle and filling the freezer and having fun along the way. So thank you for being on, and we'll share this on all our social media too, and so that way
I'll put
the word out.
All your stuff in the description below for everything.
Okay.
So do you want to send your link or anything? I'll put it in the description for everybody.